Hey, today we're going to look at cell specialization and what it means to be a specialized cell. Quick review from last week, or yesterday, I should say. We looked at why multicellular organisms want to have their cells divide, and the three reasons were growth, development, and repair. And we're going to focus on the development part as we look at how cells become specialized. We also said yesterday that unicellular organisms, since they only have one cell, they that one cell has to do all the jobs. They can't specialize and focus just on getting oxygen or focus on just moving. They need to do everything. And if you're going to have to do all of the jobs, you need to stay fairly simple and pretty small. So, a specialized cell, by definition, is the cell that has a specific job in a multicellular organisms. Um, Now, there's lots of different jobs that they can have. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Um, each type of cell in a multicellular organism has a specific job or function, unless you haven't been assigned one yet, in which case you're a stem cell. So, some of the most common ones that we will need to cover, this is by no means all of them, but these are ones that we will come into play in our human body unit, and we'll need to understand these. So, red blood cells carry oxygen around the body. That would be the ones that look like the donuts. So, I can kind of focus on that for you. So, these up here, the ones that look kind of like little red inner tubes, they're all they are is big empty sacs that are going to carry oxygen throughout the blood vessels. And then also in your blood, you have white blood cells. They're going to fight diseases. So these would be the ones that are big and purple. They're not naturally purple. They're naturally actually white. But when they stain them so that they show up better for pictures, they stain them with a purple dye. And there are several different types of white blood cells, but together their main job is fighting disease. They don't worry about carrying oxygen. They don't do anything else. They just fight off diseases. In fact, those are the things that are fighting off the coronavirus. Uh, Nerve cells send messages through your body and allow you to communicate with your surroundings. This is how we respond to stimulus in our environment. Bone cells give structure and support. They don't move very much. They're strong, they're sturdy. Muscle cells, we've got different types of muscle cells, but they all are about movement. And skin cells are a protective outer layer to keep a physical barrier between us and the outside world. And so each and every one of those, and we've got, you know, hundreds of other types of cells throughout our body, um, but each of them has a special job. Not that different than, different careers where you have to have special training, whether you're an electrician or a pilot or a gardener, um, or a doctor or a nurse, whatever job you do. Like, I had to have special training to be a teacher. Um, and that allows me to be better at my job. So, um, because cells have special jobs, a lot of times cells will function better when they all work together. And because they have a nucleus, they can communicate with the cells around them. So here we have a little cartoon showing how this one blood cell is kind of cruising along by themselves, and whereas maybe this muscle tissue is kind of just staying in groups. And so we want to look at how bodies organize that. And we'll touch on this again in the spring, but I know you get tested on it now. And so we're going to quick learn how cells and how they get organized in groups and the names for the different levels of organization in our body. And so you can see here we've got cells, and then we have a bunch of cells together make a tissue. If we take a bunch of different tissues, it makes an organ. A bunch of different organs working together make an organ system. And lastly, all the organ systems working together make an organism. Now we have lots of slides that show this exact same concept. So this is nothing new. But again, cells working together make tissues, tissues working together make organs, organs working together make organ systems, and organ systems working together make an organism. So you will often see it on a test laid out like this, where you need to see like word, arrow, mean a bunch of these turn into a tissue and a bunch of these turn into an organ. And so you will see this format just because when we type it out in a document, we need to have kind of a linear um, layout. But I also want you to see like what would that look like in you. So here we have a muscle cell. It's a specialized cell that has a job, and its job, is to contract and expand and to help you move. It's got a nucleus. It's got all the other organelles. Um, Muscle cells tend to have a lot of mitochondria because they need to do a lot of work and they need to do a lot of energy. And then if we have a bunch of those muscle cells all together, we have muscle tissue. So we can see in the picture there's lots of cells and they're all in the same spot and they're all working together. That makes a group of cells makes a tissue. And then if we have a lot of different tissues all working together, these are a bunch of muscle tissues. They make up an organ, and that's a big muscle. And this happens to be your heart, which is a large cardiac muscle organ that pumps blood. And then if we look at the soccer player here, soccer player has your heart, but it also, the soccer player has the whole circulatory system, which is your heart and your veins and your arteries and your capillaries and your blood all working together to deliver oxygen and nutrients all around your body. And if we took the circulatory system and the skin system and the skeletal system and the immune system and all the other systems in the body, pull them together, they make up this soccer player. And that would make them an organism. Again, same idea that we looked at in the last few slides. On this slide, the only thing that I wanted to point out that in addition to, animals and humans, that plants also can have specialized cell. Now, plants don't have blood cells, they don't have muscle cells, but they do have cells that perform specialized job. So cells get organized, plant cells get organized into tissues and tissues into organs, like this leaf would be an organ, and then a group of leaves together work as an organ system, and the whole plant together is an organism. And so that order, cells, tissues, organs, organ system, organism, is something that you'll need to know for how specialized cells are organized in the body.